Last time on Local Perspectives.
I wanted to capture something that's just quintessential Florida, and that's something that's very evident and within reach when you are walking around St. Augustine anyway, because it's so Spanish, colonial, and then you get this that's like, oh, there's a lot of different charming elements compiled into one area. So that was something that I'm like, I cannot deny this photo. I got.
I think there's going to be a lot of appreciation for this next shot as it involves coffee, and you probably know which one
I
I'm
think I
referencing.
do.
Yeah. So here we have a shot outside of the beloved Kookaburra, still going strong and innovative as ever. And here you had commented that I'm enjoying the infamous honey badger latte that the locals love here in St. Augustine. Amen. That was me, not you, sorry. The, the espresso mixed with honey, vanilla, and cinnamon rocked my socks. Well chosen words, Jordan. I want to thank Ballinet Socks for letting me try out the new Spring 2016 line, a Turkish sock game with fun and vibrant colors and geometric patterns. Now, back to coffee. So, had you been to the Kookaburra before this? Do you remember?
uh, yes, but I didn't have the honey badger at the time. I
Okay.
don't remember what I had.
Hmm.
Um, but everyone was telling me you got to try the honey badger latte, which seemed to me like that is like the staple, like if not the signature drink to get.
Yeah, it's definitely a
And
crowd pleaser.
yes, and I still get it to this day whenever I'm in St. Augustine. I'm like, I just want that honey badger. I mean, I drink other things there, but there's
Mhm.
just something about that honey badger that's just good. And then it tastes real good cold too, which that rocked
Mhm.
my world. But
Yes, it's versatile in that way.
yeah, so this photo is this. It's funny when I look at it because man, that was the time of accessories. I was trying to compile a lot in there. But it's funny because Balladet Socks is now based in London when they did start in Turkey. And
Okay.
with this type of photo, there's just, I wanted to, this is one of those type of shots where you fill in the frame and there's so much details. And I happened to notice that the colored stones in between the bricks coordinated with my socks.
Oh man, they sure do. I didn't
Yeah,
even
I'm
pick up on that until you said that.
that was one of the reasons why I shot that. And then you
Yeah.
have this intricate ironwork from the tables and chairs, and it's black. It has this nice contrast when I'm wearing something that's the opposite. Uh, the base color is white, and then also enjoying some latte art, and it has a bit of a texture. That's the one thing I noticed with the honey badger latte when you get it hot because of the cinnamon, it has this speckled texture to it that would
Mhm.
I thought for me personally I don't really see that often. So you're kind of mixing in geometrical shapes that stood out to me, and then you're kind of throwing in this fashion element too. So yeah, that's why I really enjoyed that shot. That was man, that was back in the day, like that was the style shot
Uh-huh.
back then where
That's
everyone's
true.
doing the top down. You don't really see it as much these days. I mean, it's
Yeah,
people still do it, but it's yeah, what a time. What a
it was
time.
it was a novelty. Yeah, 2016, simpler times.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
see, I love to hear your take on these photos because I didn't pay attention to that level of detail with the smaller tiles speckled
Mhm.
throughout and how they completely went with your socks. See that like that level of detail. I would venture to say that we have a lot of designers in St. Augustine who do murals and graphic design and different things who probably would have caught that. Um, but I personally, until you said that, I was none the wiser. I was like, oh my goodness. So it just like adds another interesting element to it.
Oh,
Um,
thanks.
I too am a honey badger fan for sure. I've migrated more so lately to the mocha nut, which is a really nice one. Um,
Mm.
but my first ever trip down there, I met up with some friends to do some early morning ministry work, and it was in the winter. I just remember being really cold, and I went in there and got either a hot chocolate or a chai. Those are like my go-to back then, and I didn't really have an understanding or appreciation yet for how special that place was and would like come to be. Excuse me. It's become definitely like a part of my ritual. Um, so and they're still going strong. They've opened several additional locations
Yeah,
over the
they've
years.
grown.
Hmm.
Because that was back at the time when they were using bold bean coffee, um, roasting it, but with bold bean coffee. And then now it's my understanding that they're kind of grew into just roasting in their own way. Um, yeah, it's weird how I remember that. It was,
Good memory.
well,
Coffee, coffee
St.
is really
Augustine
good.
has so many elements that's like
Yeah.
details that are compacted. It's like I'm always trying to pay attention.
Yeah, yeah, there's a lot of intricacy there for sure. Um, this next shot is kind of quintessential also when you think of St. Augustine and from a historical standpoint. There we go. Um,
Oh,
still back in 2016 where at Flagler College in the courtyard, the nor'easter weather we've been having here presented a challenge while exploring Flagler College. The light kept changing. Regardless, the beautiful campus, which I'm slightly jealous of, is always camera ready. Um, this is a great shot. The way the archway kind of like reveals the view of what's beyond is really cool. I like the composition a lot. I am not a photographer, in my opinion, personally, but I appreciate a good shot with like a good a story. What what do you recall about this day and this moment?
right. So yeah, that was an interesting time where the nor'easter. We were going through a nor'easter at the time, and it's always kind of tricky if you're going to try to shoot during that because 5, 10 minutes from now, when you're at a place, the light can dramatically change. And at the time, I remember the sky was a cross between sunny and cloudy, and
Hmm.
not exactly a clear sky, but it works in your favor when you have like this diffused lighting situation, and when you're walking through flag Flagler College, I've never really walked through it um, ever until shooting that shot, taking that picture. And I still haven't like been completely through it, but it was really around like the entrance, I guess, parameter. It's kind of like a square from my understanding. And the archways, it's it's something that's iconic when you think of St. Augustine, and that's one of the prettiest buildings. And just loving that Spanish architecture, and there's this European influence. And I wanted to highlight the height. Just there's a lot of majesty to this.
Hmm.
Feels like a castle, honestly. Feels like a castle.
Yeah.
And I focused on, if you notice, that high tower area was within the arch. So I wanted to kind of take advantage of that frame, shooting a frame within a frame,
Hmm.
and just getting some dimension. It worked out when there was also a person sitting on the bench in that shot. That's kind of discreet,
Hmm.
and emphasizing like that light created a lot of contrast. It was like really nice light but really heavy shadows. I really didn't have to do that much to it. I
Hmm.
was just shooting. I shot raw on my phone,
Nice.
and it just really highlighted the intricacies of the archways and that tower. Yeah, it's pretty. I love. That's one of my favorite buildings. I would argue it's definitely one of the most iconic buildings in St. Augustine to me.
Yeah, there's definitely a great bit of history there. When you said it reminds you of a castle, there are definitely a lot of stories behind it, because it was the Hotel Ponce de Leon originally in the 1800s, and I'm not sure if they're doing them at the moment with the pandemic, but they generally do daily tours throughout the day where you
Hmm.
can, it's a tour of the old hotel basically, and it just gives you a lot of, it shines a light on how it was set up back then and what it went through to become what it is today. And so, so much of it is still original. Even in the dining hall, some of the chairs are original.
Oh wow.
Most of them are replicas, but they'll do a thing where they'll put them side by side and they'll invite you to try to guess which one is which and things like that. And it's rich with meaning. Like in the courtyard, the frogs and turtles have a meaning. The fountain itself is a scepter that also doubles as a sundial. There's like all kinds of really cool details and little things to enjoy in there.
I did not know. I gotta take that tour.
Yeah, I should definitely just take you because I used to give them. This was going back to '06. That was probably one of my favorite jobs. I did it between semesters, and I memorized a good bit of it. I'm gonna be rusty on some things, but remind me next time we're down there to try to jog my memory and tell you whatever it is I do remember because there's a lot there.
Oh, okay. I like this back history, like, ooh, secret things,
Yeah,
symbolism.
totally, yeah. Um, we're gonna take a little break from the St. Augustine photos. We're gonna come back to them. Um, I I wanted to reflect on something. So we did when you went with Kevin and Christy, um, fellow Jacksonville-based photographers as well, uh, friends of ours. I was describing it as like a meeting of the minds, and I think that's so enriching when creative people can collaborate and just kind of flourish in their fellow love of creativity and things that are aesthetically pleasing. Um, it reminded me of a thing that we organized a few years ago now, where we had dinner at Raintree with Ethan, Tamar, um, Adam, and Vanessa came up from Ormond Beach. We just had like this group of people, just like had dinner, walked around. We ended up at the Hippo,
Yep,
um, and and there was a photo walk ensued.
it just happened.
It just kind of happened, and our friend Ethan, who's like one of the easiest people to photograph, uh, was there, and he has like a brilliant mind too. I think that was like one of my favorite memories
That guy
of the St.
has,
Augustine outing.
like, Ethan has no reservations. He will
Yeah.
pose the way that he's game. If you have an idea, he will do it. He will just
Mhm.
like this. And then he kind of like, I was teasing him like, oh, you've done this before. You are aware. He's very self-aware, but also very comfortable. And yeah, that was a fun time
Mhm.
because sometimes those type of photo walks, when they just organically happen, you find some really cool stuff, and it's always a learning experience because you come in with your experience and then you're around someone else that can look at the same thing, and but they're going to approach it in a different way
Right.
and reap a different result, and that's always interesting to see. Iron sharpening iron in that sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like, and this is probably true of a lot of us, but in Ethan's case in particular, he is someone who I describe as like, he's the kind of person who was like probably born in the wrong decade. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like he has such a sensibility and understanding of like what defined, say, like the Roaring Twenties and the 40s and the 50s, and he does so much research on these iconic figures from that time that it's almost like he's befriended them, and he has this like
Mm.
kind of kindred feeling with them. And I am, as we speak, I am going through my feed looking for this photo of him that exemplifies that like timelessness. I think I'm almost there. I don't usually use Instagram on a laptop, but this is such a, I'm so glad that this is possible.
I think I've only done it like less than a handful of times, so it's always like this was odd. So used to scrolling with my fingers.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, how do you use a mouse again?
I'm like, oh, you gotta scroll on this picture? You gotta click to like things? Why?
Yeah, it's definitely, oh, here we go. You know, I found, I was saying how we ended up at the hippo. This is too funny. Hold on, let me just share this one first. This was a lot of fun here. I feel like screen share. So this was the end of that night. Uh, it was just like a total candid. I don't know. It's funny. My look at my caption. It's just
I feel
it's
like
just like
this is a meme now.
it's like, hey you, huh? Snap. Uh,
What were we looking at?
Probably one of the girls, whoever took the picture. I can't remember who it was anymore. Um, but this was the um, St. George Street location.
Right.
Not too far from Charlotte Street, but this was the St. George one. And
Yes.
this night was funny because there's a guy who was working at the Leitner Museum, and he and so Ethan is to the far right, for those who don't know, our legendary friend. But uh, there was a guy who used to work at the Leitner Museum who I would see around town a lot. And then um, on another occasion, I was downtown with some friends, and he and his like, who I thought was his twin brother, were hanging out outside of Pizzali's, and the one was like working for them, giving out samples, and he was like even dressed like a pizza slice, which was hilarious. Um,
Huh.
and while we were here at the Hippo, I found out that like not only was he a twin, but he was a triplet, and all
What?
three of them were there. I don't know if you remember that. And I was just like, what? Like how? I thought you were one person, and then I accepted the idea that you were a twin, and now, subsequent to that, I'm finding out that you're a triplet. I'm like, what even is this? Um,
I'm sure they have a lot of fun with that.
right? Yeah, and they're all so different. Like they all have such different voices. I ended up working at the same school as one of them for a while, and I'd run into him all the time, and it was just funny. Like that's one of the things about St. Augustine that is uh, like living in a storybook. It's like you just keep encountering the same people, but under very different circumstances, and your rapport with them just keeps on progressing and kind of morphing because of it. And that was like one of the most memorable examples of like I thought I knew who you were, but now my head is spinning because there are three of you, and I wasn't ready for I was not ready for
Plot
that.
twist. Plot
Yeah,
twist.
plot twist. Um, so since that shot was from literally the same night, here we go. Here's the one that I had in mind. It wasn't too far away. And at the time, our dear Ethan went by Drugstore Elvis. Actually, no, he's still Drugstore Elvis. Just kidding.
Mm.
Here he is. So we
Oh
took
yeah.
this, right? Like, what year is it? You could never know, right? Like,
Right.
it's a timeless photo. It reminds me of like, it could have been taken in like 1957, in my opinion. Because like, I don't see anything that like screams 2017.
Maybe that bike might suggest something 90s.
Oh,
I'm
true,
not
true.
sure.
See, yeah. I
Yeah,
don't, I know very little about motorcycles, but yeah, good point. Good point.
but
Uh,
it's a vibe because of the mixed lighting,
hmm
the
It's a total
the
vibe.
fluorescent and the tungsten light,
Yes.
and it evokes a really cool night mood, and that's the which is something that's very evident in certain alleys in St. Augustine. This was on Aviles Street. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
Such a great street. Like best kept secret. You know, if you are overwhelmed by the crowds on St. George, head
Hmm.
to Abilene and you will be okay. It's like very quiet. And look at the hashtags. Like you would never guess what we had been doing that night. Like we were talking about dinner party, meeting of the minds, uh, after dinner stroll. So yeah, that was literally after Raintree. And so when we talk about him being like easy to photograph, like this is what we're talking about. He knows his angles and like what to do and what works for him, and he delivers. It's pretty cool.
I remember when we were shooting different things, he was definitely like, I don't really have to tell you much. You just kind of know. And I'm like, oh, I like you.
Yeah.
This dude's a model. Like, you put in some work, Ethan. I don't know what you've been doing, but it's working.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like practice, for sure. I am going to queue up some of our Sakatur photos again. This is another iconic one, and I just love the way you express your appreciation for STA here.
Oh,
At the fort, the iconic fort. So thankful for a weekend catching up with dear friends in St. Augustine the other day over laughs and cocktails. I take for granted how close this special city rubs shoulders with Jack's. Happy Saturday. And then the Perry Ellis is like a portent of things to come. So as usual, very everything weaves together. What was Jordan thinking?
you know, it's funny. I'm actually wearing that shirt.
Oh my goodness, you are. See, like all the connections. You can't plan these things.
I just realized, like, oh, yeah, I'm actually wearing that shirt right now.
That's great. Love it.
And this was also during a time where I was wearing more hats.
Hmm.
I was like buying all the fedora. I don't know where that came from. It was a phase. I think I still have it somewhere. But yeah, that was a really cool time where everyone living here, folks pretty much know that I can't think of anybody that hasn't been to the fort. And there's so many photos taken of it, but there's just something about when you put a person in the context of a national landmark like that, it humanizes the photo.
Mm.
It puts you in that person's place, so you can kind of insert yourself there. And that was the mindset that I had with that kind of photo. And it's also kind of symmetrical as well, where it just brings you that focal point because of the way the port was structured. But those are one of those type of shots where I just kind of like to add one single human element. If it's not myself, I'll try to find somebody else, um, and kind of simplify it by trying to centering the photo.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, I love using geometry too to like center a shot. It's like a gift. It's just very appeasing to the eye when I don't know if it's because it's a reminder that like when things are kind of all over the place, there's stability and something grounding to have like a focal point.
Yeah, to give that sense of scale. And it's a beautiful park, just a beautiful landmark to walk around and walk through. And
Absolutely.
just wanted to find my own kind of own slice of own take on that.
Yeah, yeah. It's always nice to see this, what you think is the same thing, but through a different set of eyes and breathe new life into it. So your shirt, tell me more about your shirt.
Well, this is a paisley short sleeve shirt from Perry Ellis that I actually bought this from Dillard's. Actually, it's one of those summer shirts for me that's like very. I like patterns.
Hmm.
That's one thing in my. I feel like it's very Floridian to have like a patterned shirt in your closet,
Yeah, totally.
and of course florals. I feel like are the staple to a Floridian look.
Hmm.
But I think Paisleys get like a second runner up in that from stuff I've seen, especially like around the beaches area.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I'm Paisleys are one of my favorite patterns, and I just really liked how this is it's like a structured take on that, and I definitely like a heavy print.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's definitely it's it's lasted for pretty good. Yeah, I've had this for a couple of years. It's one of my favorite shirts.
I think it's like I couldn't have asked for better like coincidences right now, like because you're wearing that shirt in the last shot, you're wearing it now. I did not know for sure. I went out on a limb. I didn't want to jump the gun, and I'm like, oh, please let that be a Perry Ellis shirt, and it was.
You nailed it. And I was like, oh yeah, I've had this shirt for a minute.
And that's so cool because like when you see the next photo that I wanted to ask you about, you're gonna be like, wait, what? Um, boom, taking a trip down to Miami,
Oh wow.
circa 2018. So speaking of Perry Ellis, I thought this was so cool because over time, you know, you've grown a significant following, and the focal point, you know, the brand a lot of times involves socks. There's a lot more to it than just that, but I was so excited for you when this opportunity came up, um, and you had commented here, Monday Blues, the Perry Ellis way. It's better than complaining about the Mondays. I do fancy a very streamlined look. There are times when wearing a solid color block sock is all that's needed. My time at the Perry Ellis offices in Miami was a truly transformative experience. I look forward to share more about that. Um, so tell me a little bit about um, what led to this and what the experience of being down there and invited was like.
Wow. So yeah, that was a interesting turning point where posting about Perry Ellis, they they had like kind of a survey slash competition to kind of explain why Perry Ellis is transformative for you. And I
Mhm.
remember inserting how my dad actually was, that my dad gets the credit where he was into Perry Ellis first, and that I just like the way that the clothes fit. It just meant Perry Ellis is like one of those brands, very important American brand that streamlines European cuts with an American sentiment,
Mhm.
and there's a contemporary fit to things, and the clothes just always seem to I identified with, and so that got their attention where they were so kind to nominate me and um, bring me down to Miami, and I was able to bring my mom with me, and I got a chance to meet the corporate office. There's the executive side
Mhm.
of Perry Ellis, which is based in Miami, and then they're kind of they have another corporate office that handles another aspect of the marketing in New York. And being down in Miami was really cool meeting various individuals that would give you like styling tips, and but also finding things that make you feel basically like yourself, but just in a refined way. It wasn't like a let's you're broken, let us fix you. It was more like let us honor you, that sort of thing. Just to be
Yeah.
clear, it wasn't like you poor thing,
Oh
let us
no, no,
save you.
no,
sort
no,
of,
not at all.
it wasn't quite like that, but it was more like they were just intrigued by with how that brand resonates with me.
Mhm.
And they were really, really nice to my mom, and I was very thankful. I'm still friends with a few individuals. It was really cool meeting the principal photographer for Perry Ellis, Melinda Day. She shoots everything you see now. She's probably shot that model or when
Mhm.
it comes to new collections and whatnot. And that was fascinating being on the other side of the camera because I'm
Yeah.
used to shooting other people and I see things and I see individuals in a way. And yeah, it's kind of subjective in of
Mhm.
itself, but it's always interesting how someone shoots you and then you kind of have to recalibrate your mindset to what they're looking for.
True.
And she would get down on her knees. She was shooting with a Canon,
Mhm.
and it was connected to a whole computer set. We were in this big studio, and they had a stylist there. It was I definitely they definitely made you feel like cover shoot ready. It was pretty incredible. They were really really nice folks, and I got to see some future um, collections that were coming out and just
Mhm.
learning a lot more about the how to put it the philosophy behind the brand and how they reach those kind of decisions. So it was a really cool experience, and I'll never forget it. And I still keep up with some of the creative talent there to this day.
That's awesome. It's really cool of them to have an interest of what's going on the ground level and to engage, their client base. Because I mean, it's people like you that support the brand and make it happen. So it's really cool of them to take the time to take a personal interest. And shout out to your parents, like
Yeah,
your dad's inspiration, with the brand, like introducing you to it, and then your mom getting to go. I'm sure she was thrilled. That's really cool of them.
yeah, that was really cool being
Yeah.
able to bring my mom, and they were so kind. They like surprised her with some dresses and like, hey, it's cool.
Nice.
But yeah,
Yeah.
they were very kind. They were very kind, and it made me feel even more confident about myself and how I shoot and my wardrobe, um, feeling more confident in how I choose to represent myself.
hmm Yeah. Yeah, because it's like you can't really escape the fact that um, what we choose to wear is like one of the first things somebody's going to see, and just the way the brain works, I can't help but immediately have some reaction or draw some conclusion. So
Hmm.
it's a lot of fun to be able to express yourself with that. Um, I guess I should take an opportunity to shout out to Sandro right now too, like his his design from this time last year, spring 2019, Palms to Go. I
I
love the feel
believe
of this shirt.
I believe that that T-shirt is made from Pima cotton, right?
Yeah, it's like
Yes.
organic. I know the name of the person who made this, like they signed it. It's really cool. He partnered with an entity called Known Supply on
Good
that
cotton.
stuff.
Pima
Yeah,
cotton. Very good cotton.
it's like
Yes.
cool to the touch, and I need that right now because I'm sitting outside and it's just like I'm just you know I'm just making it. I have a fan that you can't see. It's nice, and I stuck a bag of ice behind it and it's melted. Um,
You're all right over there, Teddy.
Yeah, I'm still I'm not melted. It's all good. I'm in the shade, but the sun is coming slowly.
Oh yeah,
Um,
it's here.
yeah, it's here.
It's here.
Speaking of the sun, there's one more shot that you took that I love. I just absolutely love, and I wanted to discuss, have your comments on.
Alrighty.
We started and ended with the Casa Monica. Here we go. Look at this. Absolutely, I don't know. It's just so pleasing to the eye, like the lines. This was a throwback. Last golden hour of warmth over Casa Monica Hotel, 2017. Talk to us about this beautiful facade.
Oh yeah, so that's in the style of it's a street shot, and again, St. Augustine just has is just a pretty city. It's just a very photogenic city.
Hmm
And golden hour in St. Augustine is fantastic over at Casa Monica, and there was something about it that I wanted to kind of. It felt editorial. Um, there was just this refined way of how the light hit everything, and then the gentleman was poised. He was posed in a way that had a dignified presence to it, and that hashtag busy stranger is a different take on street photography,
hmm
and oftentimes it isolates one subject in the scale of some building, and oftentimes either in bright lights or like some kind of harsh light or very contrasty shadows. And I don't know, there's just something about that I think for me it was the subject and the way that he positioned himself that made it just made the photo for me. And then it doesn't hurt when you have that great light,
Yeah.
and I like the geometric patterns of the entry points into the
hmm
hotel. So that is definitely one of my favorite ones because the light was spectacular.
hmm Very good. Yeah, it's really nice. And like, I can only imagine what it looked like from inside, in the lobby. Like it, because it at that like right moment, it probably just like flooded it with that like softer, warmer light.
Yeah, it did. It was a good day. It was a good day. That's the fun part about St. Augustine. There can be,
Hmm.
for me, St. Augustine always has. There can be multiple things going on at once. Like when you've got this great light set up, you have interesting people that are walking here and there, and then there can be a wedding going on. And I've been there for those reasons of trying to get to a wedding. It's like
Yeah.
kind of it has its own energy
Hmm.
to itself. So it's kind of like there are moments where you're like if you want to focus on something, pick a thing, because because
Yeah.
chances are something else will be happening, and then you'll see somebody in a colonial outfit. Yeah, there's multiple things going on in that area, and so for me at that time, it's just the light is everything, and
It's true.
it
Makes a
was
huge
really
difference.
cool to capture that moment.
And I think the thing that I find very striking about it too is like the gold inlay of the letters itself kind of just reflects all
Hmm.
that light too. So it almost looks like it makes me think of like a candy wrapper of like a chocolate bar wrapper. It has like that gold foil kind of
Oh
thing.
yeah.
It just evokes a lot of different cool images and feelings. Um, Man, we could talk about so many more photos. But one thing I wanted to ask and just like give you an opportunity to share too is, how can we, as people who engage with you on social media, like how can we support you? Um, it might seem obvious, but it's a very unique space to be an influencer and in like the social media game. If there's anything you're working on that you want to share or just ways that we can show some support, we'd be glad to know.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. So, given the times that we're going through right now, the influencer space is in a weird funk, and folks don't know what translates. I mean, that gets into there's other reasons for that, but at a time where a lot of people's attentions, understandably, are focused on what they're going to do the next day,
Hmm.
especially during the pandemic and other elements going on. For the influencers, for the folks like me, you, I don't have anything revolutionary to say other than I have a website, and I that's still an operating website where I have an extension of what I post on Instagram. I go into a longer format when it comes to like fashion things, like if I'm talking about a product or place. Um, you can always sign up. I don't bombard you with emails, and yeah, you can stay up to date with what's going on with me in that sense. And then the littlest things really go the longest ways. If any of my work resonates with you right now, especially I feel like there's a lot of intense feelings happening, but don't forget the ones that are trying their best to like inject some joy into the feed, because we're all figuring it out. And I think on on the base on the I think folks are not trying to come across tone deaf. I
Hmm.
think the genuine ones are not. We'll put it that way. So a like, a repost, a follow if you're new, um, means a lot in terms of support. So you can always check out my Instagram, the Soccer Tour, and then if you want to know further what's more in-depth stuff that's going on, I have my website. And I've also been getting into video, so I have a YouTube channel, and that's
Hmm.
still young. So yeah, I don't have anything revolutionary. If what I do connects, um, yeah, be sure to subscribe. And if you want to, I will say, if you do want to have add like support, um, one way that I support my channels is particularly my website is I'm always giving out discount codes. And full disclosure, yeah, that those little things do help me out to sustain, especially during this time. So
Hmm.
yeah, so nothing super revolutionary. If you like what I do, um, come say hi. I don't bite. I don't bite.
Yeah, so it's like I just love the versatility that comes along with you. Violinist, you've given lessons, you've done wedding gigs, you've designed socks in your own right. Um, and you're just really involved in the community. You support local businesses, like you really get that, and it's a very natural thing. Like it's and it all starts in coffee shops, I would say.
Yeah.
You know, there's a beautiful thing about just having coffee with someone and connecting over shared interests, and then you never know where those things are going to lead. But in your case, I think it's all been very organic, and it's just kept on building and building the way you've connected with locals in a
Yeah.
variety of different disciplines and industries, and so it's always fun to see. I'm excited for your shots with Kevin and Christy from your like safari slash photo walk. Uh, that was the vibe I got from that one shot, but I know there'll be more to come there.
Oh yes, it is currently in the works.
Totally.
I took a lot. I was like, oh, my storage space was backing up. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna have to really narrow this down.
Yeah, that's the hardest part sometimes. But yeah, our minds can contain so much more than our devices.
Hmm.
Um, Jordan, thank you so much for spending this part of the afternoon with me. I had a lot of fun picking your brain, and you know, I always it takes me a lot of time to decide who to approach about doing these kind of things, and I'm just glad that someone I have such a long-standing rapport with was able to join me, and I'm stoked that you're my first like neighbor to the north, not like St. Augustine based, but that's not necessary. It's not a requirement. I want to hem myself in that way. And you are someone who has such an appreciation for St. Augustine, so you are the perfect guest.
Oh yes, I got a special history with St.
Yeah,
Augustine. I love it.
yeah.
Thank you so much for having me, Teddy. It's been a real pleasure, and it's just nice to talk about fun things and just
Yeah,
things that we can still find inspiring and getting the creative. Hopefully, someone else out there that's looking for a positive outlet.
yeah,
These are the things that done safely. There are still healthy ways to reinvigorate our minds and our
absolutely.
spirits.
For sure, for sure. Can I get a physical distance high five?
Like,
Thank
wait, oh, so bad.
That's okay. They're not meant to be done that way, are they? This was so much fun, man. Thank you for bringing joy and creativity and like vision to your work, and then thereby to your audience too. We all appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Teddy.
Thanks for coming along on this digital journey through a simpler time. Jordan and I could have shared even more stories. I'm grateful to have friends with remarkable vision and drive. In case you missed it, Jordan just partnered with Young Buck Coffee to curate his own signature blend. He's truly an artist on the move. Keep up with him on Instagram at _Sakatur and online at thesakatur.com. Thanks for watching. Till we meet again.